Welcome to the Queen City Music Podcast, the podcast devoted to the local music scene in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, here's your host, Matthew Ablin.
Hello, and welcome to episode 29 of the Queen City Music Podcast. This past summer of 2019, I kept seeing some interesting mashups of classical music and location. You know, places where you might not think classical music performances would be found, one of which was a tattoo parlor, and the other was a brewery. I'd come to find out that these mashups were the brainchild of Elizabeth Kowalski, the director of the Charlotte New Music Festival, and I'm pleased to speak with her today. Hey, Elizabeth, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so first question, are you originally from the Charlotte area?
I pretty much am. I've been around the area since I was 2.
Okay.
Yep. So my family moved from New York, and we originally moved to Locust and Concord and then Harrisburg, and I'm in Charlotte for a while now.
So it's definitely home. Right. All right, so what's your musical background?
So when I was about maybe 3 or 4, my grandma gave me a keyboard, and I started picking out some music melodies from Disney songs and, hymns that I had learned or kind of sang. And my parents kind of noticed that I was picking it up a little bit and trying things, so they signed me up for piano lessons when I was like 5. And I never practiced, but the next year, school orientation came around, and they asked me if I wanted to continue. So I was like, of course, yeah. Why aren't I going to continue that, right? I thought that was like part of
Even though I'm not practicing, I'll
part
just
of the plan,
anyway,
Yeah, it was. I liked my lessons. I mean, I didn't practice, but I liked the lessons, and but the more I did it, the older I got, the more I practiced, and then I started practicing a lot. Actually, in high school, the last couple years, I was homeschooled. I practiced for like 6 to 10 hours a day.
Wow.
And eventually went to get a bachelor's in piano performance. In the meantime, I had picked up flute in middle school, and I had always been singing for as long as I can remember. So I got a bachelor's in piano performance and then a master's in music composition.
So let me ask you a question. I'm a guitar player, and I went to school for music too, and I went for guitar. The thing with me, though, as much as I really enjoyed playing classical guitar, my heart was not in classical music per se. Like, I loved playing guitar. That's why I studied it. Were you really into classical, or was it just that you started to really enjoy piano?
I was really into classical, really since I was really little too. My mom would put on classical music in the car and tell me stories to it. And I wanted to be a concert pianist when I was like 4 or 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Even though you didn't practice much.
Right. But like, I mean, I really loved listening to it. I still love listening to it. I still go to concerts and still play it myself, teach it.
Wow. Okay. All right. So let's see. You are the founder of the Charlotte New Music Festival. Can you fill us in? What is the Charlotte New Music Festival?
Sure. So the Charlotte New Music Festival, I started it for a few reasons. I was in the middle of grad school at UNC Greensboro when I was doing composition there. And the student musicians there were really, really phenomenal, but they just didn't have the time to dedicate to learning my music. So I wanted to work with professional musicians that would really, have the time and, get them paid to do it. But, at least my music would get a good recording so I could have it on my portfolio. And I started looking around for things to kind of like opportunities to go work with people and do like a camp or a workshop or something. And they were all hugely expensive and very competitive to get in, or a lot of them have like other student musicians playing your music. So I already had that kind of, and I didn't want that. And I was like, well, I'll just kind of pull together, create an event, pull a bunch of composers together, and we'll kind of like fund this ourselves, get a nice ensemble to work with. And that's kind of where it started. But I also really wanted to create a scene for contemporary classical music in Charlotte. And there really wasn't one here. So if I was going to stay here and live here where my family is, I don't really want to miss a whole lot. My nieces were just born and I really was in love with them and wanted to be here for them. So I was like, I just got to make it work. I have to figure out a way to make a place for this here.
So if there is no scene, let me make a scene.
Right. And I knew it was going to be a 20-year process.
Right.
I'm at year 9 now, and it's pretty much exactly where I thought it would be.
Okay.
And which is kind of cool. I never tried it before.
All right. So before we continue, what's different now going into year 9 than when you started in year 1?
Well, year 1, nobody, I would tell people what I did when I got home from school, and they were like, composers, I thought those were all dead, or people still do that, or, like it just was like this total unawareness of the field even itself. And I'm just thinking, like, how are we going to have opportunities here? This is why people move away. Like, this is why there are no really composers here unless they're teaching at a college. That's pretty much the only ones I knew. And those were like 3. So, they're really, how are we supposed to get opportunities when people don't even know that we exist?
Okay.
And that's part of the problem, is raising awareness.
And going into year 9.
People are more aware of it.
Yeah. Well, that's how I found out about you was last year in year 8. You were having one of the string quartets play at Free Range Brewing. And I saw something online about it. And then there was another event that you were having at one of the tattoo shops.
Right.
And I was like, string quartet at a tattoo shop, string quartet at the brewery.
Right.
And I didn't get a chance to make it to the tattoo shop, but I did come over for the event at the Free Range Brewing. And, man, I was really blown away. It was a big event. There was a lot of folks there. The radio station was there.
Right.
There was giveaways. So you came in, if you were listening and you hadn't gone to the event, there you came in, you got a free, pint glass, got a free beer, got to drink, got to hang out, got to listen to music. And there was really it was a packed house.
It was. There was a lot more people than we ever started out with. And, once you've done it for at least a couple years, it gets a little bit easier because you can say you've done it before. But those first couple of years were maddening. They're very rewarding, but they cost me personally a lot of money. So, but I knew it was like going to be like that anyway. And that's kind of what I heard from other people that have started stuff, is it just the first couple of years are so brutal and nobody takes you seriously and nobody cares. But the more it happens and it's becoming a cooler thing as time goes on, and people are hearing about it and they're coming out.
They're expecting it every year now.
Right.
So how did you come about with the idea of bringing music or the festival out to places like a brewery or a tattoo shop? How does that happen?
Well, I try to make it as accessible for people as possible. I want it to be, a cool experience, a little bit of a tour to Charlotte, and of venues new and old, and just kind of put contemporary classical music in places it's not usually found, and where music really already either lives or could live. So, in the tattoo shop, that was a lot of fun. I had seen events there before, and it was really cool. So I was like, well, let's do it here. In the breweries, they have a lot of bands and people coming through, so why shouldn't we too? And this is where people go. I want to bring the music to the people and not make them work to go see it. Like park in a parking deck and then walk across a campus or go into a church. That's not hugely accessible to everyone.
Right.
Absolutely.
How did you get the radio station to get involved? Have they been involved for a few years, or was this year that I saw them at the Free Range event? Was that the first year they were involved with the New Music Festival? Right.
They have been very supportive. It took a lot of building on my part to, I guess, get the interest of other parties. But now we're kind of like rocking and rolling, trying to talk about how to make things more of a partnership and collaborative.
Okay. With the radio station?
With the radio station, with other parties as well.
All right. So now I know we've got these events all around town.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you've got things coming up. So for 2020,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything you can talk about for 2020 as opposed to last year or this year in what happened in 2019?
Sure. We'll have a few of the same places, but everything's in the process of getting nailed down right now.
Okay. All right. That sounds pretty cool. All right. So also with the New Music Festival, besides the concerts, you guys are also hosting workshops.
Yes.
What tell us about the workshops?
Sure. So the workshops are for composers and musicians. The guest musicians that we bring in here from around the country, and the guest composers give these workshops. So they're anything from professional development for, people who are trying to get out there and really pick up the pace in their careers. Like we kind of have these roundtable discussions where we kind of talk our ideas and help and critique and suggest to each other. And then there's artistic workshops. Maybe one of the guest composers would present on their specialty and kind of like go into depth about that. Or maybe one of the ensembles will talk about their tours or, what it's like to present contemporary classical music on tour. Okay. And, or just techniques in contemporary classical music or, anything.
Okay. So
that has to do with that.
Is there a fee to the workshops, or are some of them like the roundtables where they open to the public to come in and just listen to what the artist has to say?
Sure. There is a donation fee for auditing.
Okay.
And I want to make it as accessible to local people as possible and support people who are working on original music here.
Sure. Okay. So who are some of the artists or composers that you've had in the past come in?
There's the Bayo String Quartet, and they're based out of Pittsburgh, and they are an absolutely amazing ensemble to work with. They work very hard. They play the music with soul. They are great showmen, and they are super friendly and super helpful. Like to younger composers who aren't as experienced or don't have as solid music, they put the same amount of passion and heart into playing that music and giving them feedback that they need. Right. As they would to one of the established guest composers that visit, and they're playing their music too on the same concert.
How far, just curiosity, how far in advance do they get to get the music that they're going to be performing for their concerts in advance?
A couple months.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Because when they played at Free Range, as well as they played, you would think they had it for a year and they had it under their belt and they were just working on it. You're like, dang.
They are machines. Actually, all of the ensembles we have coming here, and that's one of my things is like you really need to be good at what you do because it's not represented here. So when it is represented here, that kind of music, I want it to be like top notch. Right. And not just for the audience, but for the people who pay to come here and do the workshops and for everybody. I mean, it's not worth it unless we're going to present something that we're proud of. Yeah. And they're kind of all on the same page. So there's Transient Canvas. It's a bass clarinet marimba duo from Boston, and they work their tails off too, like all year doing their own thing, and then they come here and work their tails off. They're so great. And very, very great interpreters of music and art. So there's Transient Canvas, and then Bayo String Quartet. And then Load Bang is another one we've had every other year, and they're from New York City. It's baritone voice, bass clarinet, trombone, and trumpet. So it's a very non-traditional ensemble. Right. So all of their music is brand new. Like they're basically creating a repertoire for this ensemble. Right. That had never existed. So that's pretty cool. And they're super cool guys, super fun, and get down to business and put their heart into it as well. All right. So you're going into the 9th year of the New Music Festival, and you've seen it grow over the years. Who do you see as your core attendees? What walks of life are they from? Are they all musicians? Are they all students? Are they all people who have a love for classical music? Who do you have normal? I wouldn't even say I'm a normal person because I'm, a music geek. So I studied classical. I play rock. So I'm into music. But
Who do you see as your core attendees?
Well, I want everyone to get something out of it. Obviously musicians are going to super appreciate it. Anybody who's very artistic is going to get it immediately and get some value, and it's going to get them thinking, and it's going to probably inspire them, and it's probably going to click,
Right.
People who don't know about it, though, I feel like it would be more of an adventure. And, we do have all of the composers talk about their pieces right before it's played for this reason, for people who are not like super knowledgeable about the field.
Okay.
Or knowledgeable about music. So I hope in that way, and people have told me that it makes it like way more approachable and understandable, relatable.
Yeah, because contemporary classical can be if you thought
Without
classical
context.
was without context. Yeah.
Yeah.
Contemporary classical can be a little like, what is that?
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Why am I hearing this? But
Yes.
it's very artistic. Some of it can be abstract, but some of it can have a jam. Some of it can make sense and sound beautiful. Some of it can sound like noise. But
Right.
that's the art, and that's the beauty and the variety of that genre. I love it.
So what's your team like for the New Music Festival? Because obviously, going into a 9th year of doing this, you're not doing it by yourself anymore.
Correct.
So
No.
who's involved in your team? How if there are people who are interested in joining and helping out with it, what do they need to do?
Right. We have a program director, and she's helping me with basically being a liaison and setting up the scheduling, and we kind of like talk ideas on scheduling and event design. Then we have an audio person, a video person. We have 2 interns, and we're looking for probably another intern. We're looking for some fresh board members. There are opportunities to get involved for sure, staff-wise or interning.
So how come we
Volunteering.
get in touch with you about doing something like that?
The website does have a Get Involved button on it.
What's our website address?
www.charlottenewmusic.org. It does have a Get Involved button on there. And so you can get involved. You can fill out a little form on what you think you'd like to do, or just send us an email to info@charlottenewmusic.org.
Okay. Is there all sorts of video on the website of prior events so people can hear some of the stuff that they, if they're before they want to come to an event, and say, well,
Right.
What is new music? I have no idea what this is.
Right.
I just heard the podcast. I'd like to check it out.
There isn't, but we should create one. And I think I'll have it done in the next couple months because that's super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just to get people involved.
Right. I like that idea.
So what's coming up for this year? I think we had spoken earlier and you had some initiatives coming up this year.
Right. So every New Music Festival, we've done a new music open mic night, and basically it's for anyone from contemporary classical to avant-garde, experimental, electronic, electroacoustic. And we've only had it one night during the festival. So this year, one of my resolutions is to make it every month. And we hope to invite anyone from, Charlotte Symphony Orchestra people to university people to people who are out there under rocks that we don't even know about, right?
Right. There you go.
And it's just
People just moved into town.
Right, exactly. And they're looking for opportunities to play, to be heard, to be involved in music somehow. So I feel like this would be a great way for I guess just some discovery of who does what, and to hear new stuff that we would not get a place to hear it otherwise.
Okay.
So there's the New Music Open Mic Night.
And then you had something of a neighborhood orchestra that you were talking about.
Yes. So Your Neighborhood Orchestra is an orchestra of all professional classical musicians that play. We arrange as composers. There are a few composers in town here, so we would arrange local singer-songwriters' music for the orchestra.
Right.
And the songwriters perform it with the orchestra.
Oh, wow.
And so we try to cover a lot of different genres with that as well, to be very, diverse and varied in what we present. So in a concert, you might hear 5 different genres, but all played by these classical musicians, arranged by professional composers. And
wow.
it's really a cool, unique experience.
And you also have some youth initiatives that you're interested in doing.
Exactly. So
what's that? How is that working?
for high schoolers,
Okay.
it would be the last week of the festival, the second week of the festival.
Mm-hmm.
We have Nathan Matthews is going to be directing that youth program. And me, along with Nathan Matthews, will be kind of running that. And we have a whole week of learning and performing laid out for them. They're actually going to be opening for one of the festival concerts. So, and then they'll have their own concert.
Neat.
Yeah.
All right. That sounds like you're going to have a pretty exciting program this year.
I think so. Yeah, we're trying some new things, and even from presenting to what we're actually doing in the programs, it's kind of getting, just kind of growing along with the times and seeing how we can make it more relevant and effective and potent for musicians to non-musicians.
So the music festival, we talk about all these events and things that you have going on. How long is the festival itself?
The festival itself is 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You're not even messing around.
No. So the last 2 weeks in June, it's every last 2 weeks in June. And it's a bunch of workshops every day. It's rehearsals, it's performances. We put on like 12 concerts, 13 concerts in the 2 weeks.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, do you have some other things coming up that you want to talk about as far as regarding the festival?
Yeah, actually, the people who come here to take the workshops, they're all applying now, actually, in January. They've all been applying since November, December, January, and we get a lot of applications, but we only get 30 spots. And we've had applications, people that have applied and come here in the past from every continent except Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
And they're super talented. So, I mean, I'm just super excited to see who we're going to get this year coming here from around the world to hear their music, and as well alongside with local people as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So we can look forward to the new music festival. When do you think you'll start pumping out some information about what's coming up for June for the festival?
Right. So we have a newsletter coming out later in January and then another one in March. And
the newsletter is going to be posted where?
It'll be posted on our website and Facebook, but it'll be sent out to all the people who subscribe. So you can easily subscribe on our website, charlottenewmusic.org.
Okay.
And just, it's like super easy, subscribe to newsletter, put your email address in. We don't send more than 6 emails a year.
Okay.
So you don't have to worry about that.
Tons of spam that you're like, oh, I got to get this junk.
Right.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you,
Look forward to some wonderful things coming up, and hopefully I'll see you at the New Music Festival this year.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
And that will bring episode 29 of the Queen City Music Podcast to a close. If you have an idea for a podcast episode or would like to be a guest on the QCMP, reach out to me at qcmusicpodcast@gmail.com. Also, check out our partners, New Sound at newsoundonline.com and Records on the Wall at rexonthewall.com. Until next month, get out there and support your local music scene by checking out some of the talented musicians that call Charlotte home.